All right, today we are going to learn our second way of factoring. So the first way is GCF, which we learned last week, and it is on the back of this note taker. So we're looking at the back, and this way is way number 2, and it's called grouping. So write grouping at the top of your paper. This is way number 2. So we should all be on the back of our note taker from last week. This was the front, and it said 8.5 notes, and it had GCF. So we are looking at the back of that. All right, there are some requirements for us to know how we're supposed to use grouping. So if we look at a problem, there's a couple specific things we need to look at that will make us go, oh, I should probably use grouping. Here are those 3 things. So these are the conditions that must be followed to use grouping. The first condition is that there are 4 or more terms. So a term is like a monomial. So right here, we have 4 terms. So I know I can use grouping. If you just had 3 terms, 3x squared plus x plus 7x, that's just 3. So we cannot use grouping. But we could probably use what? GCF. Good. So it has 3, which means we cannot use grouping, but we could probably use GCF. So it has to have 4 or more terms. That's the first requirement. Second requirement is that terms have common factors that can be grouped together. What do I mean by a common factor? I mean they need to have something in common that you could factor out, like 7x and 7. What could I factor out of that? 7. So it will become 7x plus 1. Because if I redistribute, 7 times x is 7x. 7 times 1 is 7. Now, I know that's just 2 terms. You'll see why I have this in just a minute. Okay, so we have to have 4 terms. They have to have common factors that can be grouped together. And number 3, there are 2 common factors that are identical of each other, or additive inverses of each other. And I'll show you this in just a second. All right, so this is how we should start with grouping. Are there 4 terms?
Yes.
Okay. Do these first 2 have something that can be factored out?
Yes.
X. Yeah. So this is what you do every time you're starting to factor by grouping. Go ahead and write 2 sets of parentheses. So the first 2 right here are going to be inside parentheses, and then the last 2 are going to be inside parentheses. So I've just written parentheses around the first 2 and the second 2. Notice that my second set of parentheses goes in front of this sign, because the sign goes with 2 because it's a negative 2. Alright, so basically what you need to do is you need to GCF twice. These are 2 different GCF problems. So let's find the greatest common factor of both of them. Ready, set, go. Smallest number? 2. Factors of 2?
1.
And?
2.
Factors of 2 are 1 and 2. Does 2 go into 7?
No.
Does 1 go into 7?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to factor out a 1. Do you have to write 1? No. What's right here?
X to the first.
X to the first. What's right here?
X to the first.
So if I have an X and an X, then I can factor out 1x. I cannot factor out a y because there's not a y in both of them. Okay, so now our factor is 1x. Open your parentheses, and let's write our remainder. Well, I need to get to 2. 1 times what is 2?
2.
I have 1x. I need 1x, so I don't write anything. I don't have a y, but I need a y, so bring down a y. Okay, I need to get to 7x. I have 1x. 1 times what is 7?
7.
7. Okay, that's it for the first one. Now let's do the second one. Now, rule number 3. There are 2 common factors that are identical. This next one, the whole point of this, and if you know you're on the right track, whatever is the remainder, which is left in your parentheses, it has to be identical to this one. Okay, how many negatives do you see?
2.
2. If you see 2 negatives, factor out a negative. Okay, smallest number.
Negative
2. Smallest number is 2 or negative 2. Factors of 2 are 1 and 2. Does 2 go into 7? But 1 does. Right? Because here our smallest number is negative 2. Our factors are negative 1, negative 2. Negative 2 does not go into 7. Does negative 1?
Yes.
So let's factor out negative 1. Negative 1 times what gives me negative 2? 2y. Negative 1 times what gives me negative 7?
Negative 7.
Positive 7. Because negative 1 times 7 is negative 7. Now what I meant by rule 3, 2 common factors that are identical. This is the same thing as this. Then I know I'm on the right track. Our whole goal is to make these look the exact same. So now we need to do what we call regroup. We need to regroup. So this is what happens. We get 2 sets of parentheses. 2 sets. And whatever is left outside, so whatever is not inside of parentheses, is left outside hanging to dry. Bring it inside. So we get 1x minus 1. I just took whatever was left outside. That's left outside, and this is left outside. We're regrouping. So if they're left alone, bring them together. And then, I don't want both of these, so rewrite it once, because it's the same exact thing. So in the second one, we get 2y plus 7. If you want to check yourself, this is how you do it. You have 2 binomials, which means we have to multiply by distribution or FOILing. So let's try. Okay, let's just check ourselves. 1x times 2 is 2xy plus 7x, because first times first, outer times outer, inner, which is negative 2y, and last, which is negative 7. Is that the same thing as what we started with?
Yes.
Yes. Then our factors, these are called your factors right here. These are your factors of your original polynomial. All right. So, best way to practice is to practice. Trick question. All right, number 2. First thing you do we have 4 terms?
Yes.
Yes. Are there 2 that have, at least 2, that have variables in common?
Yes.
X, X, Y, Y. Okay, so let's put our parentheses around them. Everybody put your heads up. Parentheses. Parentheses. First one, GCF, Smallest number.
3.
3. Factors of 3 are 1 and 3. Does 3 go into 4? No. 1 does, so our only factor is 1. How many x's are right here? 1x. How many is right here? 0. So I cannot factor out an x. How many y's? 1 and 1, which means I can factor out 1. So we factor out a y. 1y if you want. I need to get to 4xy. Well, y times what gives me 4xy? 4x. I have y. I need to get to 3y. So y times what gives me 3y? 3. Good. So what do I need my next parenthesis to look like? The same. So I need my next one on the inside of the parentheses, my remainder, to say 4x plus 3. All right, well, what do you see? Smallest number. Negative 15, because there's a negative and a negative, which means I have to factor out a negative. So my smallest number is negative 15. Well, factors of negative 15 are negative 1, negative 3, negative 5, negative 15. Does 15 go into 20?
No.
Does 5?
Yes.
Good. So I'm factoring out negative 5. Let's see what's left in our remainder. Negative 5 times what gives me negative 20?
4. No.
Positive 4. Because negative 5 times 4 is negative 20.
Wouldn't be 4
It would be. But why did I not factor out an x?
Because you only have 1.
Because I only have 1, right? 15 doesn't have an x, so I can't factor it out. So in order to get to negative 20x, I have to have a remainder of 4x. Am I on the right track?
Yes.
4x is right here. Good, I'm on the right track. Negative 5 times what is negative 15?
3.
Positive or negative?
Positive.
Positive. Because negative 5 times 3 is negative 15. Do I have the same thing?
Yes.
Very good. Now we need to regroup. Regroup. I'm going to be left with 2 sets of parentheses. One is what is my factors. My factors come out first. So y minus 5. And then you just write your remainders once. If you want to check, you may. I would encourage you to check if you think you're wrong. Never hurts to check. Do y'all want me to check? Yeah, try number 4. Try number 4. Everybody should be doing number 4 right now. I intentionally skipped number 3. Say it again. Mm-mm. Yes. Alright, so you should have factored out a negative 2x. Negative 2x times y gives you negative 2xy. Negative 2 times 5 is negative 10, and you already had an x. Your smallest number was 3, so your factors were 1 and 3. Well, 3 goes into 15, so you know that's your factor. Make sure you put plus 3 right here. Because when you go to regroup, if you don't put that plus there, you will have 2x3. Okay, so make sure you put your plus or minus right here. So now let's regroup, and we will have negative 2x plus 3 times y plus 5. All right, I want to do one more with you. Number 3. I skipped it because at first you don't get matching factors. Okay, so let's go ahead and group. There are 4 terms. At least 2 of them have common variables, so I know I can use grouping. In the first parentheses, my smallest number is 3. Factors of 3 are 1 and 3. Does 3 go into 15? Okay, so factor out of 3. A and A, so I can factor out an A. What are our remainders? 3A times what is 15A? Just 5, because I already have 1A. 5. 3A, and I need to get to negative 3AB. Well, 3 times what is negative 3? I already have an A, but I don't have a B. You don't even have to write this one if you don't want to. So I have 5 minus 1B. Second one, smallest number is, factors of 4 are 1, 2, and 4. Does 4 go into 20? Awesome. So let's factor out a positive 4. 4 times what is 4b? 1b. 4 times what is negative 20? Very good. Negative 5. Here is where it gets a little tricky. We have 3a plus 4, but we have 5 minus 1b and 1b minus 5. So in this case, 5 is positive, but over here 5 is negative. Let's go ahead and rewrite this set so the 5 is first. So I'm just rewriting everything. 3a, 5 minus, I'm going to leave the 1 out. So 3a, 5 minus b, plus 4. Everything is okay if you flip these. Just make sure your signs are the same. So 5 is negative. Well, if I bring it in front, it stays negative. B is positive. Well, as long as I write plus B, we're still good. Well, can't I take a negative out somewhere and it mean the same thing? I would rather take a negative out right here. So what if I change this to negative 4? Negative 4 times what is negative 20? Positive 5. So if I'm taking out a negative, and this was a negative, it becomes positive. If it was positive, it becomes negative. Now I'm going to bring this down. Now does it look the same? Yes. So now you need to regroup. So 3a minus 4, 5 minus b. Alright, I'm about to let you start working on these by yourself. First period got a little confused because we haven't done one that had an exponent. So let me just help you get started. You're going to do the same thing for number 1. Parentheses, parentheses. Well, there's no number. There's a number But factors of 1 are just 1. So I'm only factoring out a 1. But this, how many x's are right here?
2.
And right here?
1.
1. There's 2 x's and 1 x, which means I can only factor out 1 x. Well, x times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. What do you see right here?
Plus 8.
X plus 2. What do I need?
X plus 2.
But I have to factor something out. So if you want someone to save your spot, what do you factor out?
1.
Positive 1. Remainder of x plus 2. Now when you regroup, your answer will be x plus 1, x plus 2. Alright, so what I need you to do is I want you to finish these 6 on this note taker page. And then we're going to hand out this 8.5 practice, factoring by GCF and grouping. And your homework is 12, 13, 14, and 14. Yes, I know, 2 14s. Do them both. 12, 13, 14, 14. If you finish and you have nothing to do, practice all of these by either GCF or grouping.